Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network. For the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews, press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
From the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network for movie talk, this is Otaku Movie Anatomy, breaking down and reviewing some of the best and worst in the animated film genre. Is its power level over 9,000, or is it just another Yamcha? Find out now on Otaku Movie Anatomy!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Otaku Movie Anatomy. I'm your host, Yuma Ninja, and I am joined by...
Maxwell Song! Beauty of Beast!
Sorry. It's me again.
And I am Emma Fife. Should I plug my Twitter right now? You can
do it.
The internet at Emma Fife. It's my name. I like to keep things simple and unified.
And of course, I'm Jonathan Messer. You can find me at KaibaCat. Kaiba because I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh nerd.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
This week we are talking about The Boy and the Beast, or bakemono no ko in Japanese. We just want to thank Funimation for actually inviting us to the premiere that happened last night, and we all got these cool swagulous scarves.
Yeah, they had amazing swag bags at this party. So we had these lovely fans, which is great because it's really hot in the studio.
Yeah.
And they gave us these lovely scarves, which is very counterintuitive because once again, as I say, it's very hot in the studio right now. But they also gave us Blu-rays of Wolf's Children and Summer Wars.
Yeah. So it was a great swag bag.
It was.
And the original soundtrack for this film.
Yes.
As well.
That's right. And just to tell you, this does not detract from how we feel about the movie.
No.
Yes.
So
we're not being bought here.
Yeah, exactly. Our integrity is sound, but your swag bags is very nice.
Look, there was a thing in the swag bag I pulled out, and I thought it was a box of candy, and I was like, oh my gosh, they gave me a box of candy, and it turned out to be a flip book, which is totally cool also.
The flip book's very nice.
Yes,
yeah.
but there it is.
It comes in this really nice box. It's really good packaging.
Yeah. I thought it was
It's like a tiny book. I was like, wow,
Yes.
this looks super expensive. On the back, it's also there's all this Japanese stuff on there, and it looks like it was about 10,000 yen. Which is like
$10.
It's about
it's
$10.
$10.
It's like $80.
Wow.
So I'm just like, wow.
That's a
very nice.
high
$10
quality.
flip book.
Thanks, Funimation.
So, all right, so let's get right into it. Real quick overview and synopsis of this movie. Just going to go right over the official Funimation one. The Boy and the Beast, or bakemono no ko in Japanese, tells the story of Kyuta, a young orphan living on the streets of Shibuya, who stumbles into a fantastic world of beasts. He is taken in by Kumatetsu, a gruff, rough-around-the-edges warrior beast, who is kind of a bear.
He's a big bear.
I mean, Kuma.
He's not kind of a bear.
Kuma.
He is a bear.
He's a bear.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a bear guy. Well, it's just a bear. But
So, Kumatetsu, who has been searching for the perfect apprentice, Despite their constant bickering, Kyuta and Kumatetsu begin training together and slowly form a bond as surrogate father and son. But when the deep darkness threatens to throw the human and the beast into a world of chaos, the strong bond between this unlikely family will be put to the ultimate test. A final showdown that will only be won if the two can finally work together using all of their combined strength and courage.
that was nice. That was very nice.
That was actually a very accurate and nice synopsis.
No, that is a really good synopsis of it because I mean ultimately, sort of the core of this story is the relationship between these two characters.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of outlying factors as well, and of course the struggle with the darkness that is inherent in all humans.
Darkness is spreading.
Which just like really spoke to me for some reason. I was like, oh, I do have the darkness in my heart.
They do definitely also repeat in the movie like 4 or 5 times, like, human darkness. We all got the human darkness.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Let it be known.
right.
Let it be known. This movie will be a really great introspective experience for you because you will discover your own darkness.
It's true.
And you will find
how
ways
to harness it.
Yeah, well, not just harness it, but overcome it.
Yeah.
But if you harness it, you could like turn it into like a whale for crying out loud.
I know, seriously.
It's a very
when you guys see it,
message.
you'll
If you go
understand
berserk, if you go berserk, it turns into a whale.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can do other things with it, like pottery or something.
As long as you stay sane, exactly.
Exactly,
You could like build a whole civilization, maybe.
So,
The power of a human.
On that point, we're just going to have it move on to Emma
Yes.
about self-growth influenced by the others or the lack thereof.
Yeah, so basically, this is a story about two people who we find out have basically been alone. So basically, the movie starts off, and it literally opens with a scene of Ren, who, of course, in the Beast world is called Kyuta, because that's what Kumatetsu names him, because he refuses to tell him his actual name. Deciding that, so you kind of see him wandering around the streets on his own, and you find out in a very quick flashback that basically his mother passed away tragically, unexpectedly in an accident, and that his parents are divorced.
Yes.
And rather than going to live with her relatives, he's like, nope, I'm gonna just go live on the streets and be by
Peace
myself.
out.
And he's like a 9-year-old at the time?
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair also is, yes, I understand it's for the story, but like, you're 9 years old, you should not be that hard to find. You know what I mean?
That's true. No,
like,
that's
they definitely
accurate.
did not try to find that kid at all. They were just like, he's gone. Oh,
Okay.
well. Us adults can't do anything about that,
Yeah.
really.
You know, I got a quick question about
Yeah.
there's a part in the film, and it's right here at the beginning, where you're experiencing what it's like in Japan right there for
Right,
people
yeah.
under the age of 18. Is it really that hardcore when it comes to curfew?
You know, I
I
don't
don't wanna
think it's
say
that
it's
hardcore
a
when it comes to
curfew
curfew.
thing.
They do have a big problem in Japan with like orphanages.
Yes.
Like they're not run well, they're overpopulated. So basically, like, okay, so this is something that I've talked about a lot. So I do a Sailor Moon podcast, and in it seems that, you know, you have these two orphan characters, so Makoto and Mamoru are both orphans, and they live in apartments by themselves. And apparently that is a real thing.
It is.
Yeah,
That,
is.
like, basically,
Yeah.
if you are old enough to like hold a job,
You live by
Yeah.
yourself.
yeah, you like live in an apartment by yourself and have a
Well,
small part-time job.
Wow.
There's this kind of cultural idea that, like, if you are a burden on someone, then that is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Even as a child, you're basically raised that way to where, like, the whole point is that you are going to be a burden on these other family members. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a trope, because in a lot of anime, you always find that the extended family are, for the most part, like, pretty terrible. Like, they don't want to have any.
Anything
They're
to
just
do with
No, you're
from
right.
the very
They don't
beginning.
want
they're
the
just-
burden.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they make it very known that in the beginning, like, they are a burden.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't actually apply to just children. It applies to also the elderly.
The elderly.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that
Yeah.
problem in society over there. So
Well, and it's super interesting because basically with both Kumatetsu and with Ren or Kyuta, they both like are sort of the opinion it's like, okay, so Ren is like, no, I'm not going to live with my extended family. Partially because, as you say, Max, I think there is some of that cultural implication of like, I will be a burden on these people. And also, he really, really believes that he should be with his father.
Yes,
Yes.
that's a big point.
Yes.
That's a very, very good point for the rest of this film.
Yeah,
Yes.
he really believes that he should be with his biological father. And
which is true.
It's
sure,
true.
yeah,
Makes
and
sense.
and Kumatetsu, we don't know too much about his family except that they were not around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically, you have these two characters who believe that like they should really only be with their like immediate blood family members who end up forming this family based on a relationship they have sort of as master and apprentice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, they learn so much from each other because neither of them has ever had anybody looking out for them.
I think like even the montages of like how Kyuta like learns how to fight
Yeah.
just by copying Kumatetsu.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. Like
Yeah.
And the monk, gosh, what was his name?
The monk, his name is, hold on. It is,
I want to say it starts with an A.
Hyakushubo.
Oh, that's the hard
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I'm gonna for the rest of this show, I'm gonna call him the monk.
Yeah, the pig
the
monk.
pig
The
monk.
pig
The
monk.
pig monk, yes.
And the pig monk really makes it a point to even say that about Kyuta and the way that he learns. He says he's
Yeah.
looking at him like a father. He's learning in the youngest way possible that we learn, through imitation. And that was
Yeah.
something that was really beautiful. And that's when you first started getting that relationship of father and son between them two.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, granted, you know, that's their relationship, but highly dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, because that's the thing is, you know, so much of this relationship is based on the fact that the two of them are constantly arguing.
Yeah.
So it's like they challenge each other, but they also get each other because they have always been alone,
Yeah.
though neither of
Yeah.
them would ever actually acknowledge it.
It's definitely, it's not even just the fact that like they were alone. It's the fact that they're basically kind of in the same people. They're both
They absolutely are.
They're both obviously to a fault are stubborn.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't emit weakness at all.
No.
Yeah.
And that is kind of where it seems like it's super dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And then it kind of brings in the idea that like who's the father really? You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's kind of
Because
that.
they're almost on equal footing.
They almost
Yeah.
are, yeah. But I mean, and then again, it sort of at the conclusion of the film, they both rely on each other because in the battle between Iozan and Kumatetsu over who is going to be the next like Lord of the Beast World, Kumatetsu is going to lose.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he finds out that Kyuta is actually there.
Yeah.
And it's like, Kyuta, say something encouraging. And he's like, get up, you idiot.
Yeah.
So good.
Which is an exact wraparound to the very end of the film.
Exactly.
When
Yeah.
exactly. When Kyuta, when Kumatetsu becomes a sword.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's the exact same thing. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's beautiful that way.
Just to explain, in case you haven't seen it and you're
Which
kind
most
of
of you
interested,
guys probably haven't seen them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to spoiler alert right now.
Spoiler alert. All of that was a spoiler
Spoiler
alert.
alert.
But basically, so Kumatetsu and Yozen are two of like the highest, I guess, the greatest fighters in this world of
Yes.
Jūtengai, which is the Beast World.
Yeah.
And so what they do is there's apparently one Lord, and the thing about the Beast World is that the reason that the Beast World and the human world are separated is because the beasts are the only ones that can turn into gods.
Yes.
And so the Lord, who is a rabbit, he is about to
amazing, by the way.
Fantastic character.
he's about to ascend into godhood, and the only reason that he isn't is because he just doesn't know what god he is. But basically, the reason these two fight is to figure out who is going to be the next lord of the beast world. So that's where this idea of like fighting comes
Fighting,
in.
yeah.
And the idea of having sons and apprentices is a sort of a way of like showing what type of power you have.
Yeah.
Right,
and
right.
the influence you have over society.
And righteously so, because unlike the human world where a great dark energy can consume someone and kill them all, the beasts don't have that. So what they have is a very honorable system.
Yes.
Where they fight without unsheathing their swords.
Yeah.
There's no actual death involved
Yeah.
in the fighting. It's about true power against someone's true power.
Yeah.
There's one winner, one loser, and then
Right.
you continue to
Yeah.
grow on from that.
Yeah.
And the animals are like, there's like no crime. I mean, some of them are kind of assholes, but like for the most part,
Yeah.
it's like
pretty
this kind
peaceful.
of
Yeah.
it's like this utopia. This sort of like I would have to. I mean, Jonathan's gonna go over this, but very Miyazaki-like.
Yeah.
No, it
It is.
is.
No,
No,
exactly.
it
where it's
absolutely
like
is.
like inner city crime isn't a thing over there.
Yeah.
Well,
but
and
like cheerful banter.
And the other thing is too, early on in the story, when the rabbit lord shows up and gives them the letters of introduction to go visit all of the lords like throughout the land
yeah.
to find out the meaning of true power, none of them is like it's kicking people's butts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just, it's like the idea that the whatever power is
Right.
like is ephemeral. Like it's basically all of these little parts together, but you have to figure it out
Exactly.
for yourself.
Well, and ultimately, what makes Kyuta so powerful is when he basically learns to emulate his master, because basically he keeps having like Jedi Force visions of his dead mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, there's Jedi Force visions, and then there's that's like straight up hallucination.
Yeah, because there's a difference between like Obi-Wan
Yeah.
being like, use the Force. It's
like, what's up, buddy?
Obi-Wan to be like, I made you dinner. Come eat.
Here is an
And he's like,
omelet.
he was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go eat. Oh, I'm alone. Like,
That's very sad.
Oh, she's dead.
yeah, but he basically is a vision of his mother being like, you need to become your master. And so
Yeah.
by learning to emulate all of his master's actions, he basically becomes like totally in tune with the entire beast world
Yeah.
and is able to anticipate what everyone is doing. But but it's implied, I think, that some of that is because he is specifically so in sync with Kumatetsu,
Yeah.
because in the battle between Kumatetsu and Iozan, we see that because Kumatetsu is so in sync with Kyuta that like he literally Kyuta doesn't have to tell him what to do.
Yeah.
He says it, but it's not in a place where like Kumatetsu can hear.
Yeah.
But Kumatetsu basically does everything right to end up ultimately winning.
I think it's just like when it comes to like their kind of growth and influence, like going back to that, it's just both of them were so alike that I think it was easier for them to kind of just grow together.
Yeah.
So it's like, he was kind of a father figure, but it seemed kind of more like they were brothers too.
A little bit, yeah.
It was also the Rabbit Lord's plan.
That's
Yes.
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 And
Yeah.
well, I mean, it seems like that's such an important part of the beast world in itself is individual growth, becoming the greatest that you can be. And the rabbit's goal with choosing the successor was the person who could truly grow the most.
Yeah.
And that's why they have disciples. That's why it's so important to have disciples. And that's why, he specifically gave Kumatetsu this job, and Kumatetsu, grew so much more than Yozen in the end.
Yeah.
And he was a very wise lord.
It's very true.
But to a certain point, I also feel like he just wanted like a really interesting fight. You know what I mean? Because at the end, he was just like, "Oh, now it's gonna be really interesting."
Yeah.
He was so childlike and innocent. Like, okay,
know.
there's even the part where like it took him 9 years to decide what kind of god he's gonna be,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden he's like, "I have decided." How I sound like popcorn talk guy. He was like, "I have decided." He's like, "I'm gonna be the god of decisiveness."
Yes.
After 9 years of making no decision, I was like.
To
Great,
be fair, I
great.
could, after 9
smart.
years of indecision, I could see the appeal.
Yeah. Just get it over with. I guess we'll just
I do
decide
like
on
that,
this
like a lot
thing.
of like the little like flavor like comedies that
Yeah,
they threw
yeah.
in there, especially with like the Bunny Lord guy.
Yes. Bunny
He was,
Lord.
oh gosh, he was fantastic.
Yeah,
It was a
he
great
was good.
character.
He was good comedy relief for sure.
And,
Yeah.
and he could like disappear and reappear like Nightcrawler. That was pretty
Yes,
cool.
that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
We're
He's
just
like,
watching
he
them
didn't
draw.
poof.
Yeah, it was good.
But he didn't even like poof. He was like those scary ghosts. Like, he just like kind of appears into frame whenever he wants to.
Instantly disapparates.
At least with Nightcrawler, you got a cloud and like
Yeah.
something.
That's
You
true.
get a poof.
Yeah, that's
But I mean,
totally
it was
true.
like it was definitely like the whole like Miyazaki thing. Everything was like very
Yeah.
fun, fanciful, and like
Yeah.
had comedic timing.
Yeah. I mean,
children.
there's been a lot of talk sort of amongst the interwebs about Mamoru Hosoda being sort of a spiritual successor to
Yes.
to Miyazaki in some ways.
It sucks. It's and I think this is like Jonathan's section.
No, this is what it's all about.
no,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
get into it.
It's just a little sad that his son, Miyazaki's son, is not
It's
the one that's
not the one
heralded.
that's- But sometimes I feel like that's the way it
Miyazaki.
is. But
Yeah.
like we should just go ahead and like go into the whole
Yeah, let's
compare
just-
contrast
Yeah,
to
look,
Miyazaki thing now.
well, when it comes to, you must find your own path, my son.
Yeah.
And like, so this guy, he's being heralded as the next Miyazaki, which he's 3 films in, and
Yes.
and they do have similarities because they're this fantastical fantasy, otherworldly, beasts and creatures. And also one thing that I really, in the movie, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a Miyazaki moment for me, which I didn't find a ton of moments like that, like where I would go, oh, this is like Miyazaki. I didn't have that jumping
It's
out
like
at me.
that- it's like
except
the
for
tone, right?
The tone, the feel, and then the tears.
Yes,
Did
the
you
way
guys
they kind
notice-
of like bubble up
I was
and then
like-
spill over.
I was like, oh,
And-
Miyazaki tears.
And guys, all of the acting with their hair.
yes,
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
very common in Miyazaki films.
Oh.
Also, the little puff thing that like
Yeah.
because
There's
that
always a
puff thing,
puff.
that puff thing did not
Chico?
really need to exist.
Yeah.
Is it called
Chico, yeah.
Chico.
Yeah. So listing, it's on the scarf.
Yeah.
It's like this little puff ball. It's like a cross
yeah.
between like a cotton ball and like a weasel. And a mouse.
But it's the mascot character, and
It's the
as you
mascot
know,
character, but it's also when I first saw it, when it was just a little puff, it didn't have like arms or any other features. I was like Miyazaki.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. No,
It's
it was like a soot sprite.
it is exactly. Yeah,
but white.
And still downright adorable.
I know.
definitely.
Jeez.
And if you think about it, he's the real hero of
It's
the movie.
true. No, yeah.
He saves his ass so many times.
Yeah, no, Chico was definitely essential to Ren not giving into the darkness that
Yeah.
resides in the heart of every human.
It was just kind of like, oh man, the darkness
Yeah.
is consuming me. And then he's
Which-
like, bitch, look how cute I am.
Which, okay, I actually thought that was pretty Miyazaki as well, that
Yes.
idea of like the inner darkness
It
in
was,
humans.
it was.
That's
Yeah.
true.
so many of the themes and like the kind of even the storyline, like all the overall feeling, it was very Miyazaki.
Yeah, I mean, especially like there were definitely parallels I thought between the human world,
Yes.
our regular world, and the beast world. In like you see in like Mononoke Hime,
Yeah.
where
Mononoke.
exactly where basically like the old gods, the like
Yeah.
animal gods, are like humans are so destructive and awful,
Yes.
and they
Yeah.
cut down our forests and they burn everything for their own gain, and
Yeah.
that was kind of the attitude that the beast world had towards mankind.
Yeah.
was keep it separate because they're evil. Really.
It's true. Like if you go throughout this entire movie, you can pull like different Miyazaki movies out of like everything that's going on.
Yeah.
The world that they've created, it's just if you look at some like side by sides from Spirited Away, and you know the spirit world, and then you look at that world, you'll see that there's a lot of different like parallels in just the term of design.
Yeah.
So
and
Michelle
also the
is actually
costume.
in chat tonight,
hey,
and she
Michelle.
said,
We got Michelle?
"She said, hey bros, the puffball is the best part. Don't you dare say otherwise."
We all agree.
Yeah,
that
no one.
the
We even
Everybody
put him
loves
on a
a puffball.
pedestal.
Well, because he's so small, in order to talk to him, you have to put him up a little bit higher on a pedestal. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but so what I liked about him, Mamoru, say his last name for
Hosoda.
me. Hosoda.
Hosoda.
Like is so he's got these parallels to Miyazaki, but his art style is very different.
It is different. Yeah, it's very different.
And he seems to have a thematic style of characters throughout his films.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's got these beastly kind of human-esque characters that we seem to have like an ongoing rabbit theme going on.
Yeah, we do have a rabbit
Like,
theme.
He just loves ears. I
He
think.
does.
really does.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Wolf Children.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but now I have the DVD. I'm very excited.
The
But
Blu-ray.
Exactly.
Blu-ray, even better.
They didn't skip out.
But you do get to see like, you know, a very similar kind of style going on there. So I like that he's got his own style, but it's still got, you know, a touch and a flavor of, you know, some of the greats.
Yeah.
Miyazaki specifically.
I agree, and that is funny that you brought up the rabbit thing.
Yeah.
because like King Kazuma in
Yes.
Summer
in,
Wars.
Summer Wars. Which fun fact? So. Justin, who is director of like business development and social media relations and whatnot at Funimation, who's the one who invited us all to the premiere, apparently kind of
Justin Rojas.
Justin Rojas.
Shout out.
No,
We love
shout
you. But basically, he was telling me last night, apparently, so at Universal, because I work at Universal, on our name tags, we have like our favorite Universal film, and apparently at Funimation, they have characters on their name tags, and he has King Kazuma. Yeah.
All right. So
You know, I'm curious in the end, actually, to see how his continued works have,
Yeah, I
you know,
agree.
I guess more parallels because he's only done 3 directed films in. Granted, he's in his 60s, you know, and he's worked
Right.
for what? I mean, Madhouse and
Yeah.
a
yeah,
number
he's
of
worked for
different
like
places.
great studios.
He's worked on Dragon Ball Z. He's worked on Sailor Moon, Digimon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know he has done like he has the pedigree for it. It's
Yeah.
just like now he's going into his own original
Yeah.
content.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's very much what Miyazaki did as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
And I believe he's 45, so he's
Was
like
he, I thought he
he's
was
pretty
60.
young.
I thought he was
no,
in his
he's,
60s.
he's only 40.
45,
Oh,
45
shit.
for
I
like,
wanna
look it up.
Yeah, look it up,
We'll look
guys.
it up. We'll confirm that.
Look it up.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
shoot.
well,
Yeah,
let's,
he's pretty young.
Okay, so he's got plenty of time to keep
Yeah.
making
Absolutely.
like.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know.
that's pretty big.
Yes, Mamoru Hosoda. He's 48.
Oh, he's
48.
48.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, good.
Wow, he's
Yeah.
pretty young.
But
yeah.
still, that's young.
That's young.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in creative terms is like the best years. You know what
That's
I mean?
true,
Especially
yeah.
if you're trying to make Miyazaki movies about
Yeah.
like life. You gotta live life
Yeah.
first. You know?
If people are going to compare you to Miyazaki, and like towards at the end of Miyazaki's career, like why not be in your 40s at the
Exactly.
prime of your career?
No one's ever gonna go to a young person and be like, "You're like Miyazaki." They're gonna
Yeah.
be like, "You're just a kid."
Yeah, you're a kid who's trying to be like Miyazaki, but you have not lived your life yet.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
come
See
back
me-
in 20 years.
Exactly. See me when you're 48.
All right, so moving into inspirations and concept and themes, let's go over to Max.
Okay, so there's a bit of this. So I found this really cool article on IndieWire about this film where they interview him. And so he was just talking about what it was that influenced his movie. And if you couldn't tell, it's fatherhood is like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
number
Oh, yeah.
one thing.
Fatherhood.
But it's not just about fatherhood. It's about fatherhood and like the origins and finding your place. And you can tell that from just the fact that like Kyuta is the prime example. But Ichihiro, who is also a human orphan,
Yeah.
spoilers, not really a spoiler because
Yeah,
you know
I
it.
know.
You'll know.
And once you see him
Exactly.
right in the beginning, you're like, that's a human
You're
boy.
like, that is a human boy wearing a pig hat.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh wait, no. So let's explain this. So what was the pig guy's name?
The pig guy's name is. Hold
These
on,
names
hold
are
on,
really
hold on.
hard.
Their
They
names
are
are really
really
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
It's Jiromaru.
Jiromaru.
Kumatetsu, It's
So
Komatetsu
Eozen is the other lord,
and he has
or
two
potential
sons.
lord. Yes,
Komatetsu.
2 sons.
And one is
One is Jiromaru,
Jiromaru.
who's like this little chubby pig boy,
Yeah, and
who's
then-
adorable
Who looks
and
like a
great.
pig boy.
Yeah.
and then the other one,
And the other one is Ichiro Hiko.
who just wears a pig hat, and
Yeah.
it's very obvious
And
he's a human.
And everyone and he's always like, when are my tusks gonna come in?
not
And you're
only
like, they're never gonna come in because you're a human boy.
And it's so funny too because he wears like a spirit hood.
yeah,
like,
he
he
has
has
a spirit head, and he
flaps,
has this, like
and he wraps
just,
it around his
it just looks like this. But it's just like he's obviously a human, guys.
and no one ever knew. No one figured it out.
So like the moment you see him, even as a
man.
child, you're like, that's a fucking human.
Yes.
You're a human boy. But basically, he ends up being the antagonist because even though he has grown up with Yozen and these very clearly as a beast person, he's not a beast person. And once he grows up into a full-grown adult where he is not a pig man, he starts to suspect that maybe he's not a pig man, and
Yes.
so it kind of
That's true.
creates this basically the dark hole that every human's supposed to have.
Right.
You know, and the thing about Kyuta is like, even though he recognizes that he has it, there's enough people around him to kind of
Yeah.
suppress his darkness.
Yeah.
But it
Well, because
You know what?
he
It's
doesn't
kind of
really
like
have
you know.
that.
It's think of it kind of like Naruto and Sasuke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I thought about
Naruto,
that during watching the
Sasuke.
movie. Like Sasuke, never. Or well, actually, Sasuke's on a path where he's much more alone,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how
Ichiro Hiko.
Ichiro Hiko feels. Whereas,
Yeah.
whereas Ren or Kyuta, actually has these people where he's connecting with, has more friends because he puts himself out more.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, the issue with Ichiro Hiko is that he was found abandoned in the human world
Yes.
as an infant.
And then nobody told him that he
him.
wasn't a pig boy.
Right.
And then in the beginning, his own father just straight up, once Kyuta appears, is like, you can't have a human boy. You know how much of like a dangerous, terrible,
Yeah.
asshole people they
Yeah.
are
Well,
as a
because-
concept.
and-
And
He's
things.
just like my son. Wait, he didn't say
And basically, this is a nature versus nurture thing
Yes.
because
Yeah.
Oh, good
because Eozen straight up says, "I thought if I just raised him like a beast,
It wouldn't.
it wouldn't have
Yeah.
like the darkness would never consume him."
I'm just saying, he
And
should have just like glued some tusks on his face or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
You know? Like that would have probably
And then
helped.
when he took a shower, he would have been
Yeah.
like, "Well, my tusk's coming off."
No, but
Father."
it
He's
is a
British now.
problem. It is problematic because he is denying
Yes.
what his
Exactly.
child
So- No,
actually
you're absolutely-
is.
you're 100%
Basically, I mean, it's basically
correct.
like
Yeah.
remember in the Thor movies when like Loki gets raised as a Asgardian,
Oh, yeah.
and then they're like, "Yeah, you're a you're from Jotunheim."
You're adopted.
Yeah, and he's like really mad about it.
Yeah.
I was like, Ichiro the same way. It's like, yo, you guys didn't fucking mention to this like, and I'm just being
Yeah.
treated like,
Yeah.
and you've been telling me that humans are like evil people, and I'm a human.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
what
yeah.
happened.
Because
And another thing about this is that one of his themes is how people are judged from the surface and what's actually inside.
Right.
So, for example, Kyuta is very clearly a human from the beginning, and everyone kind of condemns him for being human and doesn't really give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But then you see that like he has like that spirit that all the
Yeah.
other beast people have.
Yeah.
Ichiro Hiko is basically the polar opposite, as when he has always been accepted.
Yeah.
But the stuff inside him is the thing that like that everyone is basically suppressed
Right,
and,
yeah.
and try to deny him.
Yeah, and that's ultimately where our conflict comes from because
Right.
these two characters absolutely mirror each other.
Yep.
That's kind of what they're going through, and then it ultimately becomes the ultimate battle, which is between two humans
Yep.
dealing
Yeah.
with their humanity.
yeah,
and the
yeah,
darkness.
exactly,
Gotcha.
exactly, confronting their inner darkness.
Yeah, and it's beautiful because Kyuta in the end becomes a Jinchuriki and
Yeah. Yeah.
harnesses his master's soul, which
Yeah.
is his
And
soul
then,
sword.
and then he just never talks to him again, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So,
Because you
whatever.
gotta grab
Komatetsu.
hold
Yeah. Thanks
of
for
the
being a
sword
sword
in your heart.
Why don't you get
Grab
it?
it.
Just bam.
And by the way, there's so many Naruto moments in this because even when
Yeah.
Naruto is teaching Konohamaru how to do the Rasengan,
Yeah.
he's like, first you ha, then you pa, and then like in Komatetsu, that's how he taught how to use the sword. He goes, first you ha, then you what was it, bam.
Bam.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
Okay, so and some inspirations that he's had is obviously fatherhood.
Right?
Yeah.
And also, he has this theme of like splitting worlds apart. Like this is the thing that he like mentioned specifically. Like for Digimon, it was like the digital and the analog.
Right.
For Wolf Children, it was like trying to raise children at home and then also as like people in society.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's always that like separation that he likes to really play with.
I'm gonna see that one.
Which
You
one,
have it
Digimon?
now.
I know, I do. But I'm trying to raise children at home in society, which is actually the impotence for that movie. Was him watching someone who had 2 kids. It was like someone he knew raised 2 kids, and he was like, "Wow, this is like hard."
Yeah, absolutely. And also, he did The Girl That Leapt Through Time, which is basically about the future, the present, and the past.
Yeah.
So, if you couldn't tell, you should totally watch this movie. Obviously, if we didn't sell this enough, it's a very good original anime movie.
It is. No, it is. It's really good. There are a few things I think that could have made it stronger.
Oh, let's do that. Let's do that. I can see it right there.
Well, because basically, so I feel like Ichiro Hiko takes a strong left once he becomes an adult.
Yeah.
Yes, because they never explain it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's mad at Kumatetsu and
we
Kyuta,
just-
and you're just like, wait, what? Did I miss something?
Yeah,
I had to watch it like 3 times.
Because
like,
as a kid, Ichiro Hiko, when Jiromaru at first had been like, this is a stupid human, I'm going to beat him up. That's sort of how he talks.
It really is true. That's just
Ichiro Hiko is the one who's like, just leave him alone, it's fine.
Yeah.
But then
all of a sudden, he's just
then once Kyuta proves that he's really strong after he learns to mimic the moves of his master and anticipate the moves of everyone, so he's basically untouchable, then Jiromaru, which was also really interesting because Jiromaru is obviously very accepting of humans.
Yeah.
He's like, man, you're strong, this is awesome, come eat candy at my
He's like,
house.
let's just hang out all the time.
Which is an ongoing joke, and I love every time he comes on screen, he's like,
Do you want to
go to my house?
I love Jiromaru.
But I thought that was a big thing with this film, was that time jump didn't work so well.
Yes,
It didn't. No, it really didn't.
The lead character goes from 9 to 17, or I should say 9 to this many.
Yes.
Yeah, and so he goes from 9 to 17, and it's like all that time, we got like a minor montage.
Yes.
And when the characters are going to change so drastically, you have to give us more information and more story along the lines. Like it's a very important part because you can't expect everyone to just have that information.
I totally agree. Yeah. They didn't flesh out Ichiro Hiko's story enough. They didn't flesh out his in between time enough, and I would have really liked to see that because overall I did like the conflict between Kyuta and Ichiro Hiko.
But it definitely felt super like, well, this is what's happening now.
If there was like couple scenes of them being rivals, like to me that would
Yes.
that
It
would
made
have
sense.
like
It would
kind
have
of put everything
totally made
together.
sense.
Yeah.
Because it is very much left field
It is.
to the point where it's just like, he just seems totally fine.
Yeah.
Like he kind of has like this inkling that he isn't human. Like for the most part, just like my dad's the best. So it's to wonder like if his dad had one and he became the Lord, what would have happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The
There
other-
wasn't enough motivation really.
I totally agree.
And on top of that, you don't feel for the villain, Ichiro
No,
Hiko. And
no.
you want to be able to feel for your villain. You want to be able to at least like a semblance of your villain. And you didn't.
you really didn't.
No.
The other thing, and I was chatting about this with Justin last night, that I think would have made this film stronger is if Ichiro Hiko had turned out to not only be human, we all know, but also a girl.
Yeah.
If he'd been a girl, it would have been like so much better.
So much better.
Interesting.
Well-
because there would have also been the struggle of gender identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
interesting.
yes. It would have been better. Definitely. And I'm wondering if there would have been like a romantic component for that. Because
Come on,
personally-
in that last scene, people are shipping Ichiro Hiko and Kyuta anyway.
Yeah.
know.
That's different. That's another facet of BL. So
See, because I feel like, like the human girl Kaede, I feel like if they had given that role to like Ichiro Hiko and made him a girl from the beginning, and then at some point split them so that they would be rivals, it would have been much
Now
more
we got
compelling.
much
So
more
much
See,
more
the whole
compelling.
thing is, then there wouldn't be that separation between him having to live in the beast world and then deciding to live in the human world.
That
I
was
think
like another thing that
that
I hated.
I
I was like,
Yeah.
get
You
out
know,
of here.
and it's because the story also changes so drastically at that
Yes.
point, and we lose so much Kumatetsu.
Kumatetsu,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, I said it right.
You did, yay!
We lose so much of Kumatetsu after that because his character arc is essentially over until he becomes a god.
Yeah.
And so you now have this latter part of the film where you love Kyuta. Kyuta's a great character. He's compelling.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
fun.
no,
He's going through a
Kyuta's
great
great.
journey. He's discovering his humanity. But you've lost the whole beast side of it.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to see that relationship flush out a little more, even as he's going
Yeah.
through his own conflicts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But at that point, I feel like maybe what they were trying to convey, maybe not successfully, is the fact that like at this point now, it's sort of like a dream. Like the beast world is sort of a dream. Humans just basically aren't supposed to be there.
Oh, come on.
Sure, let's
Listen,
just entertain the thought for a
This is
little
like
bit.
the end of
right?
Okay.
This is like the end of Prince Caspian, where
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
like, Lucy and Edmund, we're really looking forward to seeing you again. Peter and Susan, bye.
Yep.
Like, you never get to come back to Narnia.
Yeah, sorry, but
That's
that's
true. That is true.
If that's what they're going for, right? They did say in the beginning that humans just don't belong there.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like,
Okay.
people have to eventually, they have to accept whatever their past to be with their family. And especially if this
Yeah.
is about family, like, then it kind of makes sense.
It is, and I enjoyed that he repaired his relationship
Yes.
with his father,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
his father did look for him in
Yeah.
all those
Yeah.
years that he was missing. I mean, I lost it when
Yeah,
I did.
when
his,
When
when
his
he and his
father
dad,
hugged him?
yeah, when his
Oh.
dad just ran and called him out by his name, and
Like, he goes out of frame, and then you just follow the dad as he comes back
See,
into
like,
frame. It's
to me,
beautiful.
I feel like
It's a good
scene.
moment.
it was
even if they
good.
didn't have the girl and had done it the other way that I said, and add that at the end where
Yeah.
he decides like I'm a human and
I
it's
know,
dangerous to be human
Yeah.
to go back to the human world
Yeah.
himself and do that. That still would have been
I was
compelling.
gonna say because I agree with like I would have preferred if the life in the human world focused more on his relationship with his
Yeah.
father,
Yeah.
who we already knew existed at the
Yes.
beginning of the film, and not this. I mean,
Random.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
honestly, the most disappointing part of this movie for me was Kaede.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
was almost
She was boring.
She was
Yeah.
almost superfluous in so many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the realizations and things he went through, he could have went through without her. He could have
Yeah.
learned without her. He could have done without her.
Well, to say that he would have learned without her might have been a little bit hard, but basically, to me, she was the device that pushed him over the edge to become human.
Yeah,
And
I don't think she was necessary.
But it's
though.
also
Yeah.
also not to say. Wait, did he ever say that he never went back to the Beast World?
yeah. They
Yeah,
said
that's
he
right.
never
Never
went
goes
back
back.
to the Beast World.
Which okay, now I find that to be like why?
Why?
Yeah,
why?
well, especially okay.
Your
Time
friends
out.
are there.
But isn't Ichiro Hiko still in the Beast
Still
World?
there,
yes. Yeah.
Wouldn't you think that the human who had learned to accept his humanity and deal with his darkness maybe would want to be in the Beast
Yes.
World
See?
with
Like,
this
or-
other human to
or
like
just come
help
and visit.
him?
Like,
Yeah.
also, it not even help.
you still have
because who
friends
gives a-
there. You've
Yeah.
still got the monk.
You
You've
were
still got
only
the
there.
monkey.
You were only there, and you were raised from a child
Yeah.
at that place.
Yeah.
That is basically your home. Like the
Yeah.
human world is just like. It's like Disneyland.
It
should be
is.
like Disneyland. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, this is pretty
mean-
cool. Hi, Dad, but I'm gonna go back
Yeah.
home
Yeah.
now
And-
where I know stuff.
And Jonathan, you brought up the biggest issue that I had with it, which was, I mean, in addition to Kaede being boring and superfluous, in my opinion, was that, okay, so yes, 100%, Kumatetsu was kind of his father figure. Sure, Kumatetsu lives on forever in his heart, which is a nice metaphor for like
Sure.
what happens to our loved ones when we die. They continue to live on within us because we always have our memories of them and they give us strength.
Right.
However,
Here we go.
he had other family members.
Yeah.
Like the monkey guy and the pig monk, like
Yeah.
they were his family.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically raised him.
Yeah.
Like, they were the thing that what Kumatetsu didn't have as a parent figure.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
they were the ones that kind of like brought everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that to me.
It is so Narnia now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
It is
right?
so
Yeah.
Narnia. You guy, you don't get to go. He's like, I can't go back. I'm too old.
No.
I'm 17. I'm this many.
It's just
Too
yeah,
tired.
I feel like there were other things that could have done to
true.
rearrange the story to make it just a little bit better and like to
Yeah.
explain like I can't go back because I realize now how dangerous I am to the to Beast
Right.
World or something.
Sure.
But
Something
But
a
yeah,
little bit,
yeah.
a little.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's hard. It's
Yeah.
definitely the ending leaves you a little wanting.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one. I just have to bring this up. There was one shot, and it was like a cinematic shot. What was the name of the girl again?
Kaede.
Kaede. And he's looking at her, and she's expressing something that's going on with how she feels about her family.
Yeah.
And she's opening up, and it's like a camera shot, and it starts.
Oh, it's so
panning
weird. I know
down.
exactly what you're talking
And I was
about.
like, is he looking at her boobs? And then it was like, it kept going. I was like, he's not going to look at her for JJ, is he? And then it just kind of pans down, and that's it.
Up to your lap, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like,
That was
what
that
the
was
hell
super
was
weird
that?
to me
Really
too.
weird. Because
Yeah.
the worst part is that, like, it's not like it was camera work. Somebody drew that.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is exactly, but it was like a cinematic pan that someone artistically drew.
I know.
and it had no real purpose.
Yes.
Because I actually wanted to be like him, being like, "What's up, baby?"
Yes.
like
It-
that
it
to
could-
me
would have made sense.
If it was like like him finding adolescence,
That-
Yes,
that would be
exactly.
okay
No,
with
but it
that.
was pointless.
Be a little bit more obvious, like
it
make
was
him
just
blush
creepy.
or look away. It was just like creeper status.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, sure. Tell me about your broken family. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I understand you haven't interacted with humans much, but I'm sure that's creepy in the beast world too.
All right. So on that note, let's all just
Yeah.
rate the movie.
Oh wait, could we do favorite moments?
Yes, do favorite moment.
Oh, because I totally have. I already said it, but it was the rabbit god deciding what kind of god he was going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
The
God of
moments-
decisiveness.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I don't laugh out loud a whole lot in movies, but at that point I did. I was like,
Yeah.
ha! I was like, yes.
That was a good joke.
Yeah.
Well
I think for
written.
me, it was when Jirumaru decided that he wanted to be friends with Kyuta because he was strong. The first time that he's like, "Hey, you want to come over to my house? We have candy."
And it's true, and he was so innocent and
Yeah.
switch, like
Yeah.
you weakling human. Oh, you're strong. Yeah.
Next.
I would have to say my favorite part was the basically the sword of the heart part. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
That I mean, it makes no sense to me because I'm like, you get reincarnated into a god, and if you're a god, you could just be like the god of not having things fucked up, so and then just make it so
Accurate.
nothing
You,
is
you
fucked
really,
up.
I'm going to be the god of whale destruction.
Exactly.
right now.
Like very specifically whale destruction.
Yeah.
Whales with tusks.
Why was it a whale?
Moby Dick.
Moby
Moby Dick.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
The book.
The
So, yeah.
over-the-head Moby Dick
So it was
references.
Moby Dick and not to forget Journey to the West. Those are the two literary
big
ones.
ones.
The two books.
Over the head with that. Over
Exactly.
The head.
Yeah.
So yes, but even though I had gripes with that logically, that part was just like feels city.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I agree
Yeah.
with you.
To
The
me,
fact
it
that
was
he became the sword in the song.
yeah. To me, it was like the part with the dad. That killed me.
yeah.
Like it just
Super
him.
emotional.
Like you wouldn't remember
see,
me.
that's-
Walks up and then the dad's like,
That's a
Ren?
beautiful. That's
I was like,
a
oh my god.
well composed.
It really
scene.
Yes.
is. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm so emotionally invested in that relationship, and I'm just not emotionally invested in the relationship between Kaede and
She's boring.
Yeah.
Kyuta.
Yeah. No, Kaede is a very. I feel like it's just like wasn't a very good.
Yeah,
thought out
she
to-
just
Yeah.
wasn't.
Oh, there's so much
Written
about when the
very
dad
well.
and when Kyuta's like, or actually he's Ren at that point. He says, he's like, I'm leaving, whatever, and the dad just says, anything you need,
Yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I was just,
Yeah. The dad and him, I was just like, oh,
I had Miyazaki tears.
It was very hard because I was like, I wanted to hate the dad so much.
I
Like,
know.
How
But
could you
then-
abandon your son like that, you dick?
No.
And he didn't.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
didn't.
Didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, then at that point, I'm also like, maybe you should have just stayed for like a month. Like, he probably would have
Yeah.
found you.
Yeah.
I know. All right, so let's rate the movie. Starting with
right.
Jonathan.
Okay, I'm gonna give this a very solid 4 1/4. 4 1/4. I mean, it's like I could have said
That's
4.
contradictory.
4 point. Oh wait, no.
Solid, but
A
you
solid,
4.25. No, it was really good, and it was better than a 4, not quite a 4.5 because of some minor issues,
Yeah.
and some story fixings that needed. But overall, it was so enjoyable. It was so sweet.
Yeah.
I think this director, I realize this is his 4th film.
Yes.
I've been saying 3 because I forgot
Yeah,
about the
you-
girl
Girl
left
Left
time.
Time, yeah.
And I think he's really coming into his own.
Yeah, I do
like,
too.
Really good.
For me, it's a 4. It could have been a 5 if Ichiro Hiko had been a girl.
Yep.
And the relationship in the human world was focused more on him and his father, because that was a much more interesting, already established, heartfelt relationship for me. I have a difficult time with this movie after Summer Wars, because I love Summer Wars, and Summer Wars
really
is
good.
a powerhouse female cast.
Yeah.
Like, Mamoru Hosoda writes great women,
females.
and he just didn't in this movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I'm going to be honest with you, like, sometimes if I am watching a work of fiction or reading a work of fiction where the majority of the characters are male, I have a hard time paying attention.
Yeah.
There wasn't really any female.
Nope. It was
characters
just
in it.
Kaede.
This was
Like in the Ghost Mom.
This is
Ghost
very
Mom.
this is very like a father and his son movie.
It was.
It was
No, it
not.
really was.
It's even hard for me to say that this was a movie about a family because it's basically just a father and
Father's
his son.
son.
Yeah, just like that
Yep.
romance that
Yeah.
They
is.
did the
I mean-
Disney thing. They killed off a parent real
Yeah,
fast.
they did.
Like,
I mean, and again, it's like, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy this movie a lot. It's just that I think a stronger female presence would have made it better for me.
Yeah. Max?
I have 2 ratings though.
Wait, you have 2?
What? Mine too.
Sure, just hear me out.
All right.
Okay, so as a movie, technically, I have to give it a 4 because there's a lot of story things
There
that
are.
I feel like is to fit in like the drama, but technically it doesn't make sense.
Yes,
and I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like if you've solved those problems, there are definitely easy workarounds.
Mm-hmm.
As a movie about world creation, though, I want to give it a 5 because
Okay,
you know,
that's fair.
That's
That's
fair.
That's
The whole
100% fair.
The whole thing is like the reason he's so attractive as like a director is because he creates these worlds. Whether
very true.
It is Summer Wars or Wolf Children, and especially this movie is like, have you seen an original world like this in a movie in recent?
No,
No.
not recently. No.
Like, that's-
yeah.
to
no.
me-
I agree.
That's fair.
Like,
That takes like
Yeah.
a lot of gumption
Yeah.
and like a lot of like having to think through.
Yeah.
That should give your 4 a solid 2.5. That's what I think.
0.25.
0.25. Excuse me, a solid 0.25. To give it a rating of a solid 0.25.
So I think I'm gonna agree with Jonathan with a 4.25, just because like Max, like I think the world building and the artwork is just
Beautiful.
amazing. And you know, you guys know me, I'm like an art snob. Like I loved the way this looked, but it really fell short on like the second half of that movie. Like
Yeah.
that weird time jump, it did not work.
No.
And I think just a few changes could have made it just so much better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
definitely a drop off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they like the scarves. Thanks, Karina. That's my wife. She's watching right
Yeah.
now. She likes
Yeah.
our scarves. She says it's Harry Potter.
Very
Very Harry Potter.
We're all
It's
in.
Gryffindor.
We're all
Very
in house Funimation.
Yeah, Funimation. Yeah, well, that's it for us this week. Oh, wait, actually, so Michelle and I are going to actually be in Japan for the next 3 weeks. So Max, Emma, and Jonathan will be taking over, and they
Hello.
will be doing...
Oh, geez. Did we decide what we're doing next week,
Max
Max?
decided.
I
Do it,
didn't
do it.
decide it, but I think it would be very interesting to watch Empire of Corpses.
Empire of Corpses? I have
Yeah.
not
That's what
seen
I said
Empire
too.
of
I
Corpses.
was like,
It's basically
Okay.
if steampunk,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
old Victorian era, colonial like America, and did I say steam and
you
zombies?
said
Yeah.
steampunk.
And
You didn't say zombies.
And zombies,
And zombies.
zombies and Frankenstein are put together
Yeah.
into one movie.
If you
this
watch the trailer,
sounds-
it looks really interesting. I mean, I would like
You
to
were-
watch
Yeah,
that.
this
too.
is-
Watch the
I'm
trailer.
wearing an Evil Dead shirt tonight. So
It's
like,
perfect.
This
no
sounds
zombies.
right up my alley.
I know, right? Wait, but you're not going to be here next week.
No, I won't be here next week
So we got-
because,
so this-
but I'll be there the following week.
Right, yeah.
So basically, I figured you might be interested in it because you picked Dragon Ball Z, and I figured we need some shonen up in bros.
So it's going to be boys' time for the next 3 weeks
Well,
with Emma.
we'll have to do something super shoujo the week
Yeah,
after
when you
please.
come
that.
back.
I'm
So
also
when-
down with that too.
So when Michelle and I come back on March 2nd, we're just going to have to do something super girly.
Yeah, yeah.
goodness.
But yeah, that's it for tonight, guys. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you
Yay,
for watching.
thanks.
And you can
Watching,
find
guys.
us.
Oh, yeah.
Online,
You
so-
can find me at Jonathan Messa at Kaibacat, K-I-B-A-C-A-T.
You can find me all over the internet at Emma Fife. It's my name. I do a bunch of shows at our sister network, AfterBuzzTV.com. Stick around. Tonight I'm doing Face Off at 10 o'clock p.m. And be sure to tune in to Star Wars Rebels tomorrow, not at our usual time, but on Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. we have a pretty awesome guest star joining us. Also, if you guys are in Phoenix, I will be at Amazing Arizona Comic-Con, not this weekend, but the following weekend, so February 12th through the 14th at the Phoenix Convention Center. Come on out and see me. I would like to meet you guys if you are in Arizona.
Wow, that was quite the plug.
Also, Chuck Huber, who did the voice of Kyuta's dad in this movie, is going to be there.
Oh.
And I really enjoyed his performance, so I'm really excited to tell him in person.
Well, that is awesome. I will eat dinner eventually, and you can find me at Super Attack with the U at the end, Super Otaku. And yeah, my plug is super short and not as interesting as Emma's.
And I will not be here. Of course, I will be in Japan, the motherland. But you can find me everywhere online at Yuma Ninja. And I hope you guys enjoyed this month with Max, Emma, and Jonathan.
Oh, you're going to enjoy it. Yes. I guarantee it.
Zombies.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.